we've talked a lot about how to this idea of the e-commerce executive's guide to marketing and different parts of marketing. We've talked a lot about growth marketing for execs and other posts, and how to use some of these different channels inside of an executive strategy. And by an executive strategy, I mean, you have to know enough about the channel to be able to insert it and lead it well, and not just rely on the opinions of the various specialists, because what happens is you will rely on the various specialist opinions, and they're all skewed. And so you end up not knowing what to do in a strategic sense as a whole. And so that's kind of the point of this executive guide series. And so we've stepped through growth marketing and other parts of marketing, and now we're going to kind of look into paid marketing, specifically underneath growth marketing, and how to use that inside of a strategy. Now, just to be clear, when we talk about paid marketing versus unpaid or organic or whatever you want to call that, unpaid marketing, it doesn't mean it's free versus paid, right? Like, all marketing costs money, but some you pay for directly, which is considered paid marketing, and then others you invest into resources that then get you the organic growth, things like SEO and those kind of things on that organic side. And so why are we talking about paid marketing? Well, it's because not all paid marketing is the same. Underneath the umbrella of paid marketing, you've got various channels, and they are all different, and they all are meant to accomplish different things on the customer journey path. Yet, it's often all judged in the exact same way at the executive level, right? So all the channels tend to be judged in the same way, with the same barometer. And that causes confusion, and it also causes lost opportunity because channels get shut down. That you stop investing in certain channels that might actually be working, but they don't look like they might be working. You start pouring money into channels that you think are working, that really won't work without other channels involved. And so there's a lot of lost opportunity, confusion, wasted money. So that's kind of why we're digging into this. And so let's talk about the fact that how all these channels work together. There's a journey that the customer goes through, and if you just think about it as yourself, it makes a ton of sense. But when you think about paid marketing channels, they all fit together, and they play different roles in a customer journey. And so we go into this in detail in other articles that we have, how specific channels should be used and what they should be used for. But in essence, you just have to understand that all of the channels, paid social or paid search on Google Ads, those kind of things, all those channels play different roles in the customer journey. They don't all have the same job, and not all of them have the job of getting the sale, right? And not all of them have the job of even getting a click. And so if you judge all of those paid channels by just ROAS, which is a common thing that all paid channels are judged by, which is wrong. You shouldn't judge it all by ROAS. We talk about that in other places. Or if you judge it all by conversion rate or click-through rate or some of these things, then you'll actually be misjudging a lot of the channels, and that journey will get messed up, and you'll be skipping steps, right? There'll be gaps in that journey if you don't do it the right way. And so that's important to understand. All these paid channels don't do the exact same thing. They're different steps in a journey, and so we have to understand that. And so where does paid marketing actually fall into an executive strategy when it comes to growing an e-commerce channel? Well, in a healthy strategy, you want to use paid marketing to win new customers effectively, right? You get to bring people into your world in really a way that you can control, like, very granularly. And that's important. That is the value of paid marketing more than anything else. So that sounds great, but your marketing shouldn't be all paid, right? And we're talking about paid direct response marketing and the benefits of it. The benefits of it are that you can control your new customer acquisition efforts directly. You control them very granularly, and you can pay more and you can get more, and you can make that pretty immediate, right? Like you can increase your ad spend, and you can get, if your ads are working, you can get new customers right away. And so you can ratchet up your revenue, and then you can also ratchet it down. And so that's the benefit of paid marketing, and specifically digital direct response paid marketing. The con though is when you stop paying, you stop getting customers. And so, there's no long tail effect, at least not one that can sustain you from paid marketing. And so the strategy with any paid marketing, whether that be digital marketing, like, paid Facebook, YouTube and that kind of thing, or whether it's even paid marketing on TV, like TV media, commercials, etc. The strategy has to be to use it to acquire a customer that then you can turn into a lifetime fan and increase its lifetime value, all while you invest in organic marketing efforts, right? These are efforts that take longer to take hold. There's things like developing content and building relationships and referrals and search engine optimization. Those are all longer tail organic marketing efforts. And so you want to use paid marketing while you invest in some of these other efforts that take longer to take effect. Why do you want to do that? Well, you want to do that because obviously those are, as they grow, they get exponentially less costly and they still return value. And so you could actually stop paying and continue getting the effects of it over time. And so that blend is really important. That's really valuable, right? You think about someone like Apple, right? Apple does spend on paid marketing, but I've personally never seen a digital, Facebook ad for Apple. Maybe they do that. But if you think about it, everyone knows who's in the tech space. Everyone knows who Apple is, and Apple doesn't have to pay for those eyeballs, right? It's because of all the things that they've done for the last 20, 30 years. And so that's kind of the idea is, while that's an extreme example, you should be working towards investing in the long term while using paid marketing to fuel your short term and your long term. And so you can think of it like a two-stage rocket, right? Like your paid marketing is ratcheted up to 90%. It's 90% of your marketing budget when you begin, when you start out. That's expensive, but it gets you getting customers immediately. And you can control that very, very well. And then as you grow, you dial it back to maybe 50% or less. So you have 50% of your budget on paid and maybe 50% of your budget in the organic space. But the only way for you to do that is if you're investing into non-paid efforts while you're in that first stage. And so that the non-paid then will become that second stage rocket that kind of takes you more, more for the long term. And the goal is someday you get to the place where most of your new customers come from referrals, come from word of mouth, come from brand awareness. And so what does paid marketing actually encompass? Like what are the different types of paid marketing, and where do they actually fit in? Now, I mentioned all marketing costs money. And so there shouldn't be a misconception that one is free and one is paid just because it's called paid. And so there are three categories really of paid marketing. And I'm going to group these in a way that make you think about this a little bit differently, because everyone listening, everyone reading probably understands the typical paid marketing channels, but it's important to understand the category they fit in. So the first category is called interrupt. And this is these are paid marketing channels that interrupt the customer in the middle of something else. So this is your social media channels, right? These are social media is made essentially for short form entertainment. And again, we have articles that dig into how you use these channels and what they're made for, etc., that we can dig into and link to. But it's made for short form entertainment. So this can include video, but it's short form video. Other interrupt channels are, that are not digital, are things like billboards and magazines, right? The customer is doing something and you're interrupting them. Your goal is to attract their attention while they're doing something else. And then there's video, and this is longer form consumption, and this is like YouTube or streaming platforms like Hulu, etc., and Netflix, and then obviously TV. And so those are interruptible paid channels. The second one is intent, right? And so this is the second category. And the only channel in the intent category is search, paid search. So that's Google, Bing, any search engine where you paid to get ads. And intent is really powerful because intent is based on someone looking for something, and you're presenting an ad that might actually solve that problem while they're looking for it. So they're more open to actually buying, clicking. They're in that mindset. There is, in the past, like until search engines came along, like there was no real intent-based marketing channel. And so it's very powerful, but it has to be understood in this second category. And then the third category is relationship. And so this is really where things like affiliate marketing comes in, where you're leveraging maybe another brand's relationship with their customer. You're paying them to try and market your products to their customer, and you're leveraging their relationship with the customer, so they already have trust. And so there's oftentimes a really high impact with that marketing. It actually works well in that area. So those are the three categories of paid marketing. And I think it's important to think about them that way as you construct a strategy that works. And so if our goal is to utilize paid marketing as effectively as possible, then we need to think about it as something that changes over time. It may start as being our primary budget, and it may end, or the end point may be something that still we do, and we do really, really well and strong. But if it went away, we wouldn't lose all of our business because there are these other channels that we've been growing up. And so how do we get to that point? Well, we put together 5 steps to actually help you think about how you create that path from maybe where you are today, where probably, like most e-commerce brands, you're spending most of your money on paid marketing. That is probably accounting for 80+% of your new customers. And you're highly vulnerable, to be honest with you, because if Facebook shuts you down or one of these platforms shuts you down, your new customer acquisition strategy is off. And so how do we get to where we want to be? So there are 5 steps. Step 1 is in the early stage of your business, and this is where you invest 80% of your marketing budget in the paid digital arena. This is like direct response digital, right? So paid social media like Facebook, Instagram, etc. Paid search, on Google and Bing, and you get your customers that way. All right. So to maximize in this step, you need to have a system that will take in customers and grow the lifetime value of those customers. And we can link to lifetime value. That's the key to your business succeeding in this early stage. You also need to take those customers in and use email, transition them to email marketing, because that's an owned marketing channel that does not cost you anything once you acquire that email to send those emails, or relatively nothing. And so we can link to tons of articles on that because that is one of the keys to this step. And then you also need to convert those customers into fans. We talk about the value of a fan, the difference between a customer and a fan quite a bit. And we can link to some of those as well. And so that's step 1 in your early stage. That's honestly where most e-commerce businesses sit right now. And they don't even know they're in that first step. Step 2 is where you start to invest 20% of your budget in non-paid activity, non-paid marketing channels. This doesn't mean it doesn't cost money. It's just that you're not paying for the customer. These are long-term activities, and these are things like investing in content. And we talk a lot about how you can invest in really good content, right? People buy emotion, they buy your brand. That's what you want them buying. The only way you can give that to them is by telling a great story, improving their lives through your expertise and your content. And if you have a product, then you certainly have expertise in that area. If you have a product, you also certainly have a story as to why that product came about. And so that's one of these areas. SEO, search engine optimization, is another area that takes investment and it bears fruit in the long term. Your brand, the purpose behind your brand, the story, etc. That is another area that you need to invest into that will return value, tremendous value. We've talked about the business case for building a brand and investing into your brand that we can connect to here as well, because there's a real business case for building a brand. And then things like affiliate relationships with other businesses that maybe aren't competition, but also may own your customer, may have a relationship with your customer. That's where you invest in this second stage. And the key here is you shouldn't be greedy. You need to be consistent with this stuff. You need to play the long game. You need to understand it's an investment that doesn't have immediate return. And as an executive, that is one of the most important things. I see it happen all the time, where a strategy that is a long-term strategy gets killed because it's not producing immediate returns. And that's short-term thinking, and will never get you out of the rat race cycle if you think that way. And you'll need to know your story and why you exist to actually do this stuff really, really well. And you'll also need some really good specialists, and it doesn't have to, and that's really important, who you choose to really help you do this. Okay, so this third step in this path is measure. So once you've kind of gotten that foundation set, we need to start measuring the balance between organic and paid. And this is pretty simple, right? But we need to be watching and reporting and managing the balance between, okay, how's our paid doing? How many new customers are from paid? How many new customers are from organic? How many returning customers are from paid? How many returning customers are from organic? You need to do this quarterly and yearly, and you need to make sure those splits, are just going in the right direction. The fourth step is adjust. And so now that we've measured this, now we need to adjust our strategy. And so as you see movement on the organic side of things, as organic starts to get momentum and build traction, then you want to feed it, right? You want to increase that budget. You want to increase the things that are doing well, increase the content development activities. We've talked about how e-commerce brands really need to be more like media companies, right? Build around that brand. And so you feed that once you start seeing momentum. This doesn't mean you reduce your paid. It just means you increase your organic efforts, because now you have a lot more to work with, actually, because your sales have improved. And then step 5 is getting to your goal. And you may never, or maybe a lifelong or a business long journey to get to this goal, but your goal should be to have 60-40 split between organic and paid marketing. That's more organic coming in than what you're using on paid. If you can get to this place, you're in a really, really strong position, and in a very unique position, because not many businesses are in that place. And so does this mean that you have, so what does this mean? There are definitely risks. It doesn't mean you have no risk. It just means that your risks are different and maybe a lot less, right? So, you have algorithms that change, you have, PR potential risks, those kind of things. But as you have your organic side running, you can always ratchet up your paid side. You always have that in your back pocket that you can turn up as you need to, and that's your secret weapon. And paid marketing is kind of like, if you in racing, there's this concept of a nitrous boost, right? You're racing on normal fuel, and then you can hit that nitrous, and for 10 seconds, it's giving you a burst of acceleration and speed. But you can't live on that forever. Like, you can't race with that fuel forever. The engine will explode. And that's kind of how you have to use paid marketing. It gets you down the road. It boosts your speed in certain places. It's something that you can turn up and turn down, but it can't be at 100% all the time. It'll burn out your business. It'll be really unhealthy for your business. And so, the goal, as I mentioned here, is just kind of wrapping up, is get to a balanced split between organic and paid, but use paid in a smart strategy to get yourself there. As you measure your paid marketing, make sure you're looking at not just ROAS, but but you're tracking against your goal, against that split. Make sure you're looking at lifetime value of your customers and making that increase. And make sure that that when you're looking at all this, you understand that not all paid is the same, right? It's a life cycle. There are different steps in that life cycle. There are different steps in that journey, and all those channels play a different role in that. And so, look, if you need help determining what your paid marketing strategy is, how you can get more healthy as an e-commerce brand, more resilient against Facebook potentially shutting you down, or certain paid channels supposedly not working, we're here to help. So feel free to reach out to us, contact us. We have programs for creating healthy growth within 90 days. We can work one-on-one with you to help your strategy. Just reach out to us. We'd love to help you.